Now, we all know that I'm a guy that really doesn't make very many political videos anymore. It's not exactly something that really needs to be done. You don't see me sprouting off about healthcare and about how Obama's handling it or anything like that. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. That's for you to decide. But there is something that is kind of bothering me a little bit regarding something, one of the most tragic days in our country's history, and that, of course, is 9/11. And I was watching actually a Pittsburgh Pirates baseball game last night. It was a very good game. Andrew McCutchen had 3 home runs. It was a huge day for the Pirates. But that really was overshadowed by my views regarding a commercial that I saw for a Shanksville, Pennsylvania memorial for 9/11. Now, of course, if you've been living under a rock for the past 8 years, 9/11, 4 planes hijacked, 2 hit the World Trade Center, 1 hit the Pentagon, and the one for Shanksville was en route to the White House. And of course, we had the uprising of passengers that saved that from happening. Now, the one thing, after doing a little bit of research on the internet, that kind of bothers me is the fact that most of the memorials that are being hosted, whether it be in New York, whether it be in Shanksville, whether it be in Washington, it seems as though there's a very limited number of fundage that is coming directly from the United States government. It seems that a lot of these memorials are really being dependent upon independent donations. A lot of this is coming from the people, and a lot of the funding for these projects, a lot of the fundraising for it has really fallen well below expectations, and that bothers me greatly. Listen, you know, we obviously don't have a permanent memorial at Pearl Harbor, for Pearl Harbor, to my knowledge at least. I mean, if we do, then that's fantastic, and we really ought to, but you know, how many people really do make it to Pearl Harbor over there in Hawaii in order to see the memorial for the Pearl Harbor attacks? These domestic memorials really, in my opinion, deserve to be made because this was a tragic day. Regardless to whether you think this is a conspiracy or not, you have to admit the tragedy that did occur. So let's just get that out of the water right now. For all of you people who are going to comment about the conspiracy theory, and that's the reason why the funding is not there from the United States government, just stop. Regardless to what happened, it's still a tragedy. And these are people that, whether they died or whatever you want to believe, they still deserve remembrance, because to the people who believe in the 9/11 catastrophe being exactly what it was, these are people who are dead and deserve memory. And to me, I think that the American government should be the one that is really taking the ball and rolling with it. And from what I've seen on the internet and from all of my independent research, there's very, very little interaction with the government that I've seen with most of the memorial sites. There are some. There's some. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there's absolutely none, and that's an atrocity. Because trust me, if there was none, I'd be a lot more angry than I am right now. But I think that compared to what other countries are doing, there are some countries out there that are actually aiding in the making of these memorial sites. I really think that America should really take an active role in its own people, and really, there's enough funding, there's enough money that's not being used, or they're being used for careless projects that are absolutely silly and unnecessary, that we can allocate some funds for an memorial at all 3 locations that should have been open by now. Right now, the only one that is open is the one at the Pentagon. The one in Shanksville, Pennsylvania is entering development, and the one that is in New York, where where the World Trade Center once set, and I don't mean the pillars of light. I mean there's a big project that is being planned there, where there's going to be 2 reflecting pools. It looks absolutely beautiful. There's going to be a lot of trees planted. It's going to be a very, very nice facility. But that one is hoping for a date of opening of exactly 10 years after the tragedy in 2011. I think these should have been open by now, though. I really think that the government should have taken a little bit more of an active role, a little bit more of an assertive role in making sure that these projects happened in a timely fashion and also had the adequate funding, because fundraising for all three projects have come short, way short of expectations, as I've said. And I think for a tragedy of this magnitude, regardless to whether you believe it's a conspiracy or not, I don't think that that's something that should happen. That to me is a blatant show of disrespect. Now the one for New York, let's get one thing clear here. The one for New York was a little bit cost heavy. We're talking in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and that they actually had to revise the budget and shrink the budget down a little bit in order to make it feasible. And that is understandable because, let's face it, it's a big project, but if your budget is just completely out of the question, your budget's completely out of the question, especially for fundraising. But the ones for Shanksville, Pennsylvania and the Pentagon were both relatively doable, and they could have been doable in a much shorter period of time. Just let me know, guys. What do you think? Do you think that these are things that should have been done already? I think they should have been, especially for the grade of the tragedy, and I'd hate bringing politics into the mix, but the fact that we had to have that date shoved down our throats by President Bush for the next 7 years, really defining both the latter stages of his first term and his second term, it's really kind of surprising that this stuff did not get done. So let me know what you think. I personally think that this is kind of sad, but I want to know what you guys think. Let me know.